I died on a Tuesday evening at 28 years old, vomiting blood in my bathroom while my mother-in-law Catherine stood in the doorway watching with cold satisfaction. My husband Michael was at a business dinner she'd insisted he attend. I was alone dying and the last thing I heard was her voice. "You should have left when I gave you the chance. My name is Alexandra Hart." Or it was Alexandra Montgomery for the 6 years I was married to Michael Montgomery. I died slowly, poisoned over 6 years by a woman everyone thought was a saint. The doctors called it a mysterious illness. My husband called it tragic. Catherine called it inevitable. I knew the truth in my final moments. The tea she'd brought me every morning. The vitamins she'd insisted I take. The special meals she'd prepared to help me get stronger. Every act of kindness had been laced with poison. When I opened my eyes again, I was 22 years old, standing in a ballroom full of people celebrating my engagement to Michael Montgomery. Catherine stood across the room, smiling at me with the same cold satisfaction I'd seen in my final moments. This was my engagement party, the beginning of everything. I was holding a champagne flute, wearing the white cocktail dress I remembered buying for this night. Michael's arm was around my waist, pulling me close as he laughed with his college friends. And Catherine was watching me with eyes that promised exactly what she delivered in my previous life. Death. "Darling, you look pale," Michael said, concerned. "Are you feeling all right?" In my original timeline, I'd blamed it on excitement and too much champagne. Catherine had swooped in with her usual concern, insisting I sit down, bringing me water that I'd later realize was the first dose. This time I pulled away from Michael's arm. "I need air," I said. "I'll come with you." "No. I need a moment alone." I walked out to the balcony, my hands shaking, my mind racing. I had been given a second chance. 6 years of my life had been stolen, and now I was back at the beginning, knowing exactly who would kill me and how. The question was, what would I do about it? "Alexandra." I turned. Catherine had followed me outside. She was 60 years old, elegant in a navy dress, perfectly coiffed silver hair, pearl earrings that probably cost more than my parents' house. She looked like every society matriarch, refined, dignified, untouchable. "We should talk," she said, closing the balcony door behind her. "About what?" "About your future with my son." She moved closer, her smile never reaching her eyes. "You're a lovely girl, Alexandra. Pretty sweet, obviously in love with Michael. But you're not right for him." In my original timeline, I'd been confused by this conversation. Hurt. I tried to win her over, to prove I was worthy of her son. This time I knew better. "Why am I not right for him?" I asked carefully. "You come from nothing. Your father is a teacher. Your mother works at a bookstore. You have student loans and no family connections." She said it clinically, like reading a grocery list. "Michael needs someone who can help his career, not drag him down. Michael loves me." Michael is 24 years old. He doesn't know what love is. He knows infatuation, lust, the excitement of something new. Catherine's voice was matter of fact. "In 5 years, when the novelty wears off, he'll resent you. He'll see his friends married to women from the right families, women who open doors for them, and he'll realize what he gave up. You don't know that. I know my son. And I know girls like you." She stepped closer. "You're pretty and charming now, but that fades. And when it does, what will you have to offer? You're studying to be a teacher, for God's sake. You'll make $40,000 a year while Michael makes 10 times that. You'll be an embarrassment." Every word was designed to wound. And in my original life they had. I'd spent 6 years trying to prove her wrong, trying to be sophisticated enough, connected enough, valuable enough. And she'd poisoned me the entire time. "I see," I said calmly. Catherine looked surprised by my lack of tears. "Do you? Because I'm offering you a way out. A generous one. I'll write you a check for $100,000. You go back inside, tell Michael you've realized this was a mistake and walk away. Take the money, finish your degree, start your life without this burden. And if I don't? Then you'll marry my son and spend the rest of your life trying to fit into a world that will never accept you. You'll be miserable. He'll be miserable. And eventually, one way or another, this marriage will end badly." In my original timeline, I'd been devastated but defiant. I told Catherine I wouldn't take her money, that true love was worth more than her approval. I'd gone back inside, told Michael about the conversation, and he'd been furious with his mother. We'd gotten married anyway, determined to prove her wrong. I died 6 years later. This time I looked Catherine in the eye and said, "I'll think about it." Her smile widened. "You're smarter than I thought." I went back inside and found Michael immediately. "We need to talk. Privately." He looked concerned but followed me to a quiet corner. "What did my mother say to you?" "She offered me money to leave you." Michael's face darkened. She had no right." "Alex, I'm so sorry. I need to know something, Michael. And I need you to be completely honest with me. Anything. If I marry you and your mother never accepts me, will you choose me or her?" "You obviously." "No, I need you to really think about this. Your mother is important to you. You're close with her. If it comes down to a choice between us, what will you do?" Michael looked uncomfortable. "It won't come to that. But if it does?" He was quiet for too long. And in that silence, I saw the truth I'd refused to see in my original timeline. Michael loved me, but he loved his mother more. Or at least he couldn't imagine a world where he had to choose. "I would try to make you both happy," he said finally. "That's not what I asked." "Alex, please, this is our engagement party. Can we not do this now?" I looked at the man I'd married, the man I'd died for, and I felt nothing but tired pity. He was handsome, successful, charming. And he was a child who'd never learned to stand up to his mother. "I need time to think," I said. "Think about what?" "About whether I want to marry someone who can't answer that question." I left him standing there, shocked, and went to find my best friend Emma, who was chatting with some of Michael's corporate friends. "Em, I need to leave. Can you drive me?" Emma took one look at my face and nodded. "Let's go." In the car, she asked, "What happened?" "Michael's mother offered me $100,000 to break up with him." "What the fuck?" And when I asked Michael if he'd choose me or her, he couldn't answer. Emma was quiet for a moment. "Are you going to take the money?" I thought about my original timeline. About 6 years of trying to win Catherine's approval. About the slow deterioration of my health. About dying alone while she watched. "I don't know," I said honestly. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in my apartment, staring at the ceiling, thinking about my choices. Option 1. Take the money and walk away. Avoid Catherine, avoid the poison, avoid death. But also avoid Michael, who I'd loved deeply in my original timeline. Option 2. Marry Michael and try to protect myself. Be vigilant about everything Catherine gave me. Document everything. Survive this time. Option 3. Marry Michael but expose Catherine's true nature first. Find proof that she was dangerous. The problem was I didn't have proof. In my previous life, I died of mysterious illness that no one had questioned. Catherine was too smart to leave evidence. Unless I could find proof of previous victims. The next morning, I called in sick to my teaching internship and went to the public library. I spent hours searching old newspaper archives for information about Catherine Montgomery. I found her wedding announcement from 40 years ago. Catherine Ashworth marries William Montgomery, successful attorney. Beautiful photo of a young Catherine in a designer wedding dress. I found William Montgomery's obituary from 12 years ago. Died suddenly at age 52 from heart failure. Survived by his wife Catherine and son Michael, age 12. Heart failure at 52. Sudden death. No previous health issues mentioned. I kept searching. I found an article from 15 years ago about Michael's older half-brother, David, from William's first marriage. David Montgomery dies at 23 in tragic accident. Fell from balcony at family estate. Michael had a half-brother who died. He'd never mentioned it. I searched for William's first wife, Sarah Montgomery, divorced from William when Michael was 5. Current whereabouts unknown. I made copies of everything and went home to think. Michael called me 17 times that day. I didn't answer. Catherine called twice. I definitely didn't answer that. Finally, I called Emma. "I need your help with something crazy." "How crazy?" "I need to find Michael's father's first wife and ask her about Catherine." Emma was quiet for a long moment. "Why?" "Because I think Catherine might have killed her first husband. And possibly her stepson." "Alex, that's insane, I know. But humor me. Please." Emma sighed. "Fine. But if you're wrong, you're going to feel like an asshole. It took us 2 weeks to find Sarah Montgomery. She was living in Oregon under her maiden name, Sarah Whitman. I called her, not knowing if she'd even speak to me. Ms. Whitman? My name is Alexandra Hart. I'm engaged to Michael Montgomery. Silence. Then, get out while you can. My heart started racing. What? If you're calling me, you already know something's wrong with Catherine. Get out before she destroys you too. Can I meet you? Please. I need to understand. I don't talk about that family. Ms. Whitman, I think she's going to try to kill me. Another long silence. Come to Oregon. Don't tell anyone where you're going. I told Michael I needed space to think and was visiting my aunt in Seattle. He was desperate, apologetic, promising to stand up to his mother. I kissed him goodbye, told him I loved him, and flew to Oregon with Emma. Sarah Whitman lived in a small house outside Portland. She was 55, thin, with gray-streaked brown hair and eyes that had seen too much. You look like you did in your wedding photo, she said when she opened the door. Young, happy, in love. I was like that too. We sat in her living room. She made tea, then pushed it away without drinking. I can't drink tea anymore, she said. Not after what she did. What did she do? Sarah looked at me. Catherine poisoned me. For 3 years she poisoned me, trying to kill me so she could have William. My blood ran cold. How do you know? Because I was dying. Doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong. I was losing weight, vomiting constantly, my hair was falling out. And then one day I caught her. She'd come to help while I was bedridden, and I saw her put something in my water. I confronted her. What did she say? She smiled at me and said, "You're not good enough for him." Then she left. I went to the hospital that night, told them I'd been poisoned. They tested me, arsenic. Small doses over years. Did you press charges? William convinced me not to. Said it would destroy Michael, who was only 5. Said Catherine would get help. Said it was a mental breakdown. Sarah's face was bitter. I divorced him, took a settlement, and left. Biggest mistake of my life. Why? Because I left my stepson David alone with her. The one who died. Fell from a balcony. Catherine said he was drunk, that it was an accident. But David didn't drink. He was training for a marathon. And he just told William that he thought Catherine was stealing from the family trust. And then William died too. Heart failure. At 52, healthy as a horse. 3 months after he changed his will to leave everything to Michael instead of splitting it with David. Sarah looked at me. Catherine is a patient, methodical killer. She poisoned me over 3 years. She probably poisoned William over months. She makes it look natural. Why are you telling me this? Because you're engaged to Michael, which means you're the next obstacle. Catherine has spent 24 years grooming her son to be exactly what she wants. You represent everything she hates. Independence, lower-class origins, the possibility that Michael might choose someone over her. What should I do? Break the engagement. Take whatever money she's offering. And she's definitely offering money, that's her first move, and run. Don't look back. What if I want to fight? Sarah laughed bitterly. You can't fight her. She's too smart, too connected, too patient. By the time you realize what she's doing, it'll be too late. But you survived. Barely. And I lost everything, my marriage, my stepson, years of my life. Is Michael Montgomery really worth that? I thought about the man I'd loved for 6 years in my original timeline. The man who'd never quite stood up to his mother. The man who'd remarried within a year of my death. No, I said quietly. He's not. I flew back to California and went straight to Catherine's house. A massive estate in the suburbs where she lived alone since William's death. She answered the door herself. Alexandra. I didn't expect to see you here. I want to take your offer. Her smile was triumphant. A wise choice. But I have conditions. Do you? I want $200,000. And I want you to admit what you did to Sarah. Catherine's face went very still. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. You poisoned your husband's first wife. You probably pushed your stepson off that balcony. You poisoned your husband. And you were planning to poison me. That's quite an accusation. Do you have proof? I have Sarah's testimony. Medical records showing arsenic poisoning. And I'm willing to bet if they exhume your husband's body, they'll find something interesting. Catherine studied me for a long moment. You're bluffing. Am I? Want to test that theory? Because I'm happy to go to the police right now with everything Sarah told me. Even if they can't prove anything, the scandal will destroy your reputation. Michael will know what his mother is. Your country club friends will drop you. Your charity boards will ask for your resignation. Michael would never believe you. Maybe not. But I can plant enough doubt. And that's all I need. Catherine's face was cold, calculating. 200,000. You disappear, never contact Michael again, and never speak of these ridiculous allegations. And you admit you were planning to poison me. I'll admit nothing. Then I go to the police. We stared at each other for a long moment. Finally, Catherine said, I would have made it painless. That's more than Sarah got. My stomach turned. Why? Because you would have made him soft. Weak. My son is destined for greatness, and you would have held him back with your middle-class morality and your pathetic teacher's salary. She moved closer. I've spent 24 years building him into the perfect man. The perfect heir to the Montgomery legacy. I'm not going to let some nobody from nowhere ruin that. He's your son, not your project. He's both. And he's mine. No woman will ever be good enough for him because no woman will ever love him the way I do. Looking at her, I understood for the first time that Catherine wasn't just evil, she was sick. Obsessed. Incapable of seeing Michael as a separate person. Write the check, I said. She did. $200,000 made out to cash. If you ever contact my son again, she said as she handed it to me, I'll make sure you regret it. If you ever try to poison anyone again, I'll make sure everyone knows what you are. I left her house with the check and drove straight to a lawyer's office. I recorded every conversation I'd had, with Sarah, with Catherine, with everyone. I documented everything, put it in a safe deposit box, and wrote instructions that if anything happened to me, it would all go to the police. Then I went to see Michael. He opened the door looking exhausted. Alex, thank God. I've been so worried. I'm not marrying you. His face crumpled. What? Why? Because of my mother? Your mother poisoned your father's first wife. She probably killed your half-brother David. She poisoned your father. And she was planning to poison me. That's insane. My mother would never. David's death was convenient, wasn't it? Right after he accused her of stealing. Your father's death was convenient too. Right after he changed his will. And your mother offered me money to leave you. When I refused, she told me she'd make it painless. You're lying. I have recordings. Testimony from Sarah. Documentation of everything. I handed him a thumb drive. Listen to it all. Then decide if you believe me. Alex, please. My mother isn't perfect, but she's not a murderer. Yes, she is. And unless you cut her out of your life completely, she'll kill every woman you try to be with. Because she doesn't want you to have anyone but her. That's sick. Yes, it is. Michael looked at me with tears in his eyes. What about us? There is no us. Your mother destroyed that when she threatened my life. I'm leaving, Michael. I'm taking her money and starting over somewhere she can't find me. I love you. I know. But you love her more. You always will. And I'm not going to die trying to change that. I walked away from Michael Montgomery for the second time in 2 lifetimes. This time I survived. I moved to Seattle, changed my name to Alexandra Martin, and used Catherine's money to finish my teaching degree debt-free. I got a job at a small private school, found a tiny apartment, and started building a life that had nothing to do with the Montgomery family. 6 months later, Emma visited and told me the news. Michael had gotten engaged to Vanessa Ashworth, Catherine's niece. Holy shit, I breathed. Right? Catherine literally arranged a marriage with her own family to keep control. Is Vanessa aware of what Catherine is? Who knows? But she's from the family, so maybe she's safe. I thought about warning Vanessa, then decided against it. She was Catherine's family. She'd made her choice. 3 years later, I was teaching 5th grade when I saw a news article. Catherine Montgomery dies at 63 from lung cancer. I felt nothing but relief. 6 months after Catherine's death, I received a letter from Michael. Dear Alex, I hope this reaches you. I've spent the last 3 years thinking about what you told me. I didn't believe you at first. I thought you were bitter, angry, lying to hurt me. But after my mother died, I found things. Letters. Documents. Evidence that you were right about everything. Sarah reached out to me. Told me the whole story. I understand now what my mother was. I'm sorry I didn't believe you. I'm sorry I chose her over you. I'm sorry for everything. I'm divorced now. Vanessa and I couldn't make it work for obvious reasons. I'm in therapy trying to understand how I could have been so blind. I'm not asking you to forgive me or take me back. I just wanted you to know that you were right. You saved your own life by leaving. And I'm grateful you survived what my mother would have done to you. I hope you're happy wherever you are. You deserve it. Michael. I read the letter 3 times, then put it in a drawer and never responded. 5 years after leaving Michael, I met James, a software engineer, kind and stable, with a normal family who welcomed me with actual warmth. We dated for 2 years before he proposed, and even then I had him investigated by a private investigator before I said yes. That seems excessive, Emma said when I told her. After Catherine, I trust no one. James understood. He met Sarah, heard the whole story, and instead of thinking I was paranoid, he installed security cameras in our house and insisted on all our food being sealed. I'm not taking chances with you, he said. You've already died once in a timeline I don't remember. Let's make sure it doesn't happen again in this one. We married when I was 30, 2 years older than I'd been when I married Michael in my original timeline. James's mother made me a welcome gift. A family cookbook with all their recipes, so I'd always feel at home. I cried reading it, thinking about the poison tea Catherine had brought me every morning. At 35, I had my first child, a daughter we named Sophie. At 37, a son named David, after Michael's half-brother who I'd never known but who died trying to expose Catherine. I became a master teacher, won awards, influenced hundreds of students. I built a life that was mine, earned through survival and determination. When I was 45, I had a health scare. Cancer detected early, treated successfully. James held my hand through every chemotherapy session. My children visited constantly. My in-laws cooked meals. And I thought about how different this was from my original timeline, where I died alone while my mother-in-law watched. At 50, I received news that Michael had died, heart attack at 46, same age his father had been. Do you think? Emma asked carefully. That Catherine's influence killed him even from beyond the grave? Maybe. Or maybe the Montgomery men just have bad hearts. Will you go to the funeral? No. That chapter is closed. But I sent flowers with a note. You deserved better than what your mother made you. Rest in peace. At 60, I retired from teaching with a pension and a wall full of thank you letters from former students. James and I traveled Europe, Asia, Australia. We saw the world I'd never gotten to see in my first timeline. Sophie became a doctor. David became a lawyer specializing in elder abuse cases. They both knew my story, knew what Catherine had done, knew why I was cautious about everything. You survived a murderer and built a beautiful life, Sophie told me on my 70th birthday. That's incredible, Mom. I survived by being smart enough to walk away, I corrected. Sometimes survival means knowing when to quit. At 75, James died peacefully in his sleep. We'd had 42 years together, longer than many people get. I mourned him but didn't break. I'd already died once. I knew how to keep living. At 80, I was diagnosed with heart failure. The doctors gave me 6 months. That's longer than Catherine gave me in my first life, I told Sophie. She cried. David raged. But I was at peace. I'd lived 58 years longer in this timeline than in my original one. I'd married a good man, raised good children, influenced hundreds of students. I'd survived and thrived. On my last day, surrounded by family and hospice, Sophie asked me, Mom, do you have any regrets? I thought about Michael, about the life I might have had if Catherine had been different. About the 6 years of marriage I'd lost by walking away. No, I said honestly. I regret nothing. I chose myself and it saved me. What would you tell your younger self? If you could go back to that engagement party, I'd tell her what I learned. Some people can't be fixed. Some situations can't be won. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away before the fight kills you. That's what you did. That's what I did. And it gave me 58 years I wouldn't have had otherwise. 58 years with you, with David, with your father. 58 years of teaching and living and loving. I'd make the same choice 1,000 times over. I died that night, peacefully surrounded by love. And somewhere in whatever comes after, I hoped Michael had found peace too. I hoped he'd learned the lesson I'd learned, that sometimes the people who should protect you are the ones you most need protection from. I'd been given a second chance and I'd used it wisely. I'd walked away from poison disguised as love. I'd chosen survival over romance. I'd built a life worth living. And that was enough. That was more than enough. 6 months after my death, Sophie was going through my papers when she found a letter I'd written years ago, sealed and marked to be opened after I'm gone. She opened it and read, "My dearest children, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And I'm at peace. I want you to know that every choice I made, walking away from Michael, exposing Catherine, building a life far from that family, was the right choice. Not the easy choice. Not the romantic choice. But the right one. I was given something most people never get. A second chance to fix a fatal mistake. In my first timeline, I chose love over safety. I chose hope over evidence. I chose to believe that love could conquer evil. I died at 28 because of those choices. In my second timeline, I chose differently. I chose to believe the evidence. I chose to protect myself. I chose to walk away from a man I loved because staying would have killed me. And I lived to 80 because of those choices. I'm not writing this to make you afraid of love or paranoid about family. Your father was proof that good people exist. You too are proof that good families exist. I'm writing this to tell you that it's okay to walk away. It's okay to choose yourself. It's okay to protect your life, even when people call you selfish or cowardly or unforgiving. Survival isn't weakness. Walking away isn't surrender. Protecting yourself isn't cruel. Catherine Montgomery was a monster who successfully killed at least 3 people and nearly killed a 4th. The only reason I survived was because I was given impossible knowledge and I believed it. But you don't need rebirth to trust your instincts. You don't need supernatural knowledge to recognize danger. You just need to be brave enough to act on what you know. If someone threatens you, explicitly or implicitly, believe them. If someone makes you feel unsafe, physically or emotionally, trust that feeling. If someone demands you choose them over your own well-being, choose yourself. I lived 58 years longer than I should have because I made those choices. Because I valued my life more than a romance, more than social expectations, more than the dream of fixing someone broken. I hope you never need this lesson. I hope you only ever love good people who treat you well. But if you do need it, remember, your mother survived a murderer by being brave enough to walk away. You can too. I love you both more than life itself. Which is why I chose life, so I could be here for you. Live boldly. Love wisely. Protect yourselves fiercely. And remember, sometimes the greatest act of love is loving yourself enough to survive. Your mother, Alexandra. Sophie cried reading it. David cried too. They made copies for their own children, ensuring the lesson would pass to the next generation. And years later, when Sophie's daughter asked about her great-grandmother, Sophie told her the truth. She was a woman who died once, came back, and spent her second life teaching everyone around her that survival is worth fighting for. Did she win? Her daughter asked. She lived to 80 surrounded by people who loved her. Yes, sweetie. She won.